Welcome into the Skinny Podcast. It's the weekly potpourri edition. I'm Richard Skinner, Local12.com digital sports columnist and editor with Rick Boring. As always, it's presented by Blake, the attorney Maislin. I'm emanating from the great outdoors today for two reasons. One, it's such a doggone nice day outside, probably the last nice day we'll have in a while before
the humidity's coming, Skinny.
It is. The humidity is going to be in the hundreds here at some point, so I'm taking advantage of that. And we're having our carpets cleaned inside today, so I got forced outside.
There you go. So, Jed Demusey, if you hear the wind chimes in the background, there's nothing I can do about it. That's just
I took the wind chimes down wisely.
All right, fair enough. Skinny, the streaking Reds. We get to talk about a streaking Reds team. They were on a roll last week when we talked about them. They've continued that. They are 4-1 since we last talked. 39-35 overall. Now tied with the Brewers for second in the NL Central and 6.5 games back of the Cubs. I want to start this by. I saw Charlie Goldsmith said that the Reds are playing their best baseball since the summer of 2023. And I don't know exactly how much that means considering 2024 was pretty blah. But I guess I wanted to, it kind of felt like more of this team, like it feels like it has momentum again. The same way people were talking about them at the end of 2023. Are you starting to get that vibe at all? Or do you feel like this is still just, you're kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop with this team?
No, I'm kind of feeling that vibe for a couple of reasons. One, you've had Elly De La Cruz take that step, right, to being a superstar who carries your team for a period of time. He went from a guy who I wasn't sure was going to get into the 20s home run wise to a guy who's now on pace for 32 homers, 100 RBIs, 100 plus runs scored, 40 stolen bases. It's pretty special, and that's what you've been waiting for. Matt McClain has started to hit a little bit. You got Tyler Stevenson back healthy. You got CES back healthy now. He's kind of slumped a little bit since that hot streak, but that hot streak helped carry you for a series there. Austin Hayes will get back and getting back, and I think it's gotten the lineup to a good place where you're not having to bat the Santiago Espinal's second, and you're not having to bat the Gavin Lux's fourth. The starting pitching is the one thing we've talked about has been the consistent part of it, right? And that's pretty much stayed that way. It'd be nice to get Hunter Green back and plug him back in, but now the lineup's kind of caught up to that, and it's a nice marriage at the moment. And again, it's all predicated on health, but it's all predicated also on what you believed going in, that eventually Elly De La Cruz was going to be a superstar, that Matt McClain is going to be a very good player for a long time, that CES could be that extra power bat that you need. And, all those things were what you were hoping if you were the Reds, and you're starting to see some of that come to fruition.
I realize he would have only had a few starts during this recent hot stretch that the Reds are in, but it is pretty amazing that they're pulling this off without Hunter Green being available, because I thought when he went down, it's like, oh, okay, this might be if this is extended at all, this might be where they finally kind of tail off here. And instead, they've gone the exact opposite direction. And I've been thinking almost every night when they pull out these wins, man, could you imagine how good you'd feel about this if Hunter Green was healthy right now and they were rolling too? I guess, like, what's the latest on Hunter Green, and how positive do you think that diagnosis is?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. I would hope it's after the All-Star break at the worst, right? I hope that's the case. And then you also have to factor in, at what point do you consider bringing up Chase Burns, and how much life can you get out of him? He's on an innings count this year. I don't know what that number is, but that would include what he's done in the minor leagues. I mean, would you bring him up, plug him in? If you do, would it be have to go to a 6-man rotation maybe just to lengthen him out? And then what happens on August 27th? Let's just say the Reds are a game out of first place and Chase Burns is pitching like the guy you hoped he would be, and suddenly he has to shut down because of the innings count. It's a weird spot to be in, but it's also a good spot to be in because you do have another bullet in the holster with him down in the minors, and he's pitching well down there.
I think Tito called Hunter Green's injury week to week.
Yeah,
at this point,
I don't like week to week is never good.
That's what I was thinking too, Skinny. Is that just a defense mechanism so people won't ask about him every single day? Maybe so that's why you don't say day to day. Like the week to week thing is kind of strange to me. It feels like a bit ambiguous, and maybe kind of we don't really know what's going on with that hip and back right now.
No, that's right, and maybe they don't, or maybe they just don't want to push it at this point. But yeah, it's a little disappointing. Because it feels like every time he gets started, right, and it looks like, man, he is a superstar. He gets shut down for something, and that's disappointing.
I will give them credit for, aside from just winning baseball games, obviously, there have been multiple occasions during this stretch where they've kind of blown the game. The Fraley situation where he bounces over the home run. You have the CES situation. I mean, there's probably 2 or 3 other instances you can think of throughout the last few weeks where they've kind of faltered late in games or maybe in the middle of games, and they've had to rebound and win them late. That's made this team a lot more fun to watch recently. That ability to come back, and the bullpen pitching some big innings for them too, and obviously the offense finding sparks late in games. Early in the season, it felt like when they were in those close games, when you get in those late inning situations, they just had no oomph to that lineup. It was like when the rubber hit the road, they didn't have anyone that you were scared of.
Well, I mean, it felt like the night that he let Garrett Hampson bat for the 27th out, and Garrett Hampson made the 27th out, was like, okay, that's what this team is your last guy is Garrett Hampson. You can't even pinch hit for him with Matt McClain at that point. And is this where we're going with this? And boy, it feels like almost right after that game, the light bulb went off for a lot of different guys. And it's the superstar carrying them in Ellie, but then it feels like it's a different guy a night. One night it is Jake Fraley. One night it is Spencer Steer. One night it is CES. And I think that's a good sign too.
That kind of is the 2023 vibe that they had going on when people were getting excited about them, and you had some of these younger guys that were starting to make a name for themselves, but weren't solidified yet. It was kind of on any given night, you were getting something from a different guy. And that's a little bit of the vibe that they have right now. We'll see how it goes forward, but Skinny, they have 35 games, I believe, between now and the trade deadline. Sounds about right. Trade deadline is July 31st. So yeah,
that's probably about right. Yeah,
think about 35 games until the trade deadline.
Because you got the All-Star break mixed in there. Yeah.
Let's give them that week to do something. So let's call it like 30 games till we're really going to be in that. Okay, it's trade deadline week. Is something going to happen or not? We'll have all these conversations as we get closer to that. But what do they need to do during these next 30 games to be aggressive at the trade deadline?
Chop the deficit to 3. Between you and the Cubs. I mean, you're 6.5 right now. I don't think that's a huge ask, right?
Right.
I'd say chop the deficit to 3.
And that's what I was curious about, because I'm wondering, if they're 5 games out, which would mean they're probably still playing pretty good baseball during the next few weeks, but they didn't make up much ground. They didn't stay super hot. The Cubs didn't fall off at all. Do you think the Reds front office sees themselves as being in a position of, we can be aggressive here, we need to make a move, we need to go get a bat? Or do you think it's more likely that they're kind of treading water, playing this out, and looking towards the future?
Problem is, I just don't know what you can give up. I mean, would you, let's just assume for the sake of argument's sake that Hunter Green is healthy at that point, which makes a starting pitcher perhaps expendable. Would you be willing to part ways with a Nick Martinez for a bat? Nick Martinez and a prospect for a bat. That's the point. And really, of the top prospects you have, the Sal Stewarts, the Cam Colliers, you're counting on those guys to eventually be on your roster and produce. And so you don't have, I don't think, that next tier of prospect that you're able to trade. So it is a weird place to be in, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it just feels like they're always in that weird place that we find themselves in that spot every year. You're going to have to do something at some point. I would lean towards this isn't the team to do it with. I don't think this roster is all that talented, but they've been fun to watch the last few weeks, and they are playing good baseball. If they continue this for another,
the thing I was saying, if you are in it at that point, and again, I'm doing this for the sake of argument that Hunter Green's back healthy and pitching fine, you do have a starter expendable at that point.
You do, and I mean, like the scenario you threw out there, if you're within 3 games of the Cubs, I mean, that would mean you're playing really good baseball still at that point.
You're probably very much in the mix of the wild card at that point too.
Well, you're definitely in one of the wild card spots at that point, no doubt about it, because they're right there on the cusp right now. And if Hunter Green is healthy and pitching well again, you have Abbott going. I mean, you've got a nice rotation. I could maybe be talked into, you got to make a move at that point.
Yeah, no, I do too. And listen, I don't think it's just for now either. That's the one part going for it now. It would be somebody that I would be either who's in the last year of a contract that I may be willing to pay longer term, or has a longer term deal that's sizable that the team's just looking to dump. Because listen, they're still going to be in that mix to need another right-handed outfield bat next year. I mean, they just are.
Yeah, true. All right. I wanted to bring up kind of a different topic here related to the Reds, because it happened in their stadium here over the last weekend. The Savannah Bananas sold out Great American Ballpark back-to-back nights. What do you think Reds ownership thinks when they see that?
It's great question. I mean, it is the Harlem Globetrotters, though, right? I mean,
Yes.
and I'm sure back in the day when the NBA was kind of in its infancy, or it went through a bad stretch in the 1970s. I'm guessing the Harlem Globetrotters were able to sell out NBA arenas, and those owners of those NBA teams are going, "Why are we scrapping 3,600 a night for this game?" I'm sure that same thought went through those guys' minds back then.
Well, and
it's a 2-day novelty. Here's the thing. If the Savannah Bananas played 162 games in Great American Ballpark, how often would they sell out?
That's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, does their attendance even matter when they're only doing it for 2 nights and the Reds play 81 home games? I mean, it's not the same scenario at all, but I still think it's an interesting thing when something like that comes into your ballpark and sells it out. And in theory, they are still playing baseball in it. And you see all these different things that they're doing. I'm wondering, like, do the Reds look at that and think, oh, this is good, it's growing the game, it's getting people excited about baseball in our community? Or are they looking at it as, we're going to get crushed for this, people are going to say, look at Savannah Bananas can sell out, they make it fun for the fans, and when in reality, the Reds could never do the stuff that they're doing it's silliness.
It's novelty.
Right.
There's no question. I will say, I mean, I am stunned at the popularity of it and what people were willing to pay for tickets. So my wife had, I think, 8 or 10 standing room only tickets for Friday, and the weather was dicey, so she sold them, and she sold them at a profit online, right? And so the next day, she's like, I think I'm going to go. My oldest daughter was going to go with her. She said, I'm going to try to buy a couple seats. So she bought some in one of the 100 sections down the first base line. I don't know, row K-ish, whatever that is, pretty close to the field. And she made a tidy profit, so she turned the profit into buying 2 seats for $199 a piece. That's crazy to me.
So did she come out on top in the end?
She did.
Slightly?
Yeah, she did. She did, and got 2 seats on top of it, but still. I mean, holy cow.
Skinny, I'll admit, as I tend to do with these things, I'm becoming a little bit of a Savannah Bananas hater. It's kind of annoying me.
I'm not a hater. I just take it for what it is.
Well, the people that are really into it, I'm like, okay, this feels a lot like something I would not like that much than if you're really into it. When I see certain people saying things and posting about it, I'm like, oh yeah, this probably isn't for me. This feels like one of those things. I mean, I realize you can't criticize something like that until you experience it. And I could see myself taking my son to a game like this in the future. Sure. I'm sure it's entertaining for the kids. Do you think adopting some of the fan experience stuff, like when I ask people about it, what was so fun? You hear, oh, they played music throughout the entire time. There's like no visits to the mound. It's just constant pitches. Like you just keep firing it, even more so than the pitch clock you have in Major League Baseball now. It's just constant action. Obviously, there's all this silliness and dancing and stuff that they do. There's the center fielder doing backflips and catching the ball. There's a guy on stilts, that type of stuff. Do you think there's anything that can be learned that Major League Baseball can adopt from the fan experience?
Absolutely not. Nothing to it. No.
And I don't want more of this stuff.
Because, dude, there's no winner or loser of that game. I mean, Major League Baseball is about winning and losing. And you know what? I hate to be that guy. I could care less about the fan experience. If I'm rooting for a team, I don't care about my fan experience. I care whether my team wins or loses.
I'll tell you what, I found out through the college basketball seasons the last few years, especially with fans locally complaining about tickets, prices, and different things, that other fans care about that more than you and I do, for sure. They care about things like contests and music and Skyline gift cards being dropped from the rafters.
I hate that stuff in games. It honestly, it annoys me more than it entertains me. It's like, came here to watch basketball. Give me a 2-minute peaceful timeout. I'm good with it. Let's resume the action. Yeah, I don't need all that other stuff. That's not what brought me to the game. To hopefully I can catch a Skyline gift card falling from the thing.
I wouldn't go as
my buddy's seats are. I can never catch one of those anyway.
I wouldn't go as far as to say you're in the minority with that take, but I am shocked at how many people feel the exact opposite. How many fans attend that game for all the other stuff? And maybe not for the other stuff, but they really like the other stuff and want the other stuff.
I'm telling you, if the Kiss Cam ever came to me, I'm flipping it off. I swear to God, I am. I don't need you. I don't need to be shot.
Well, first of all, your wife's not attending a sporting event with you and kissing you. That's a fact. So I don't think we have to worry about you actually getting on the Kiss Cam.
It's probably a good point, but it's intrusive. You're there to enjoy the game. I don't need to be up on the screen. I literally hate that. I know I'm an old man yelling at clouds now. I'm outside yelling at the clouds. I get it.
That's why we do this podcast, though. That's what people tune in to hear, is your take on something exactly like that. And I gotta say, I'm trending down that path a little bit too, but I'm fascinated by how
Susie, is it A, B, or C? And those in game people are annoying too.
Well, I was going to say, what about some of the voices we get on the PA for those in game hosts?
Yeah, I don't need them either.
We should do a ranking of the best in game PA hosts in the city throughout the years.
Would be none.
Where would our old morning reporter?
Who's that? Which
at Channel 12?
Oh yeah, who did she do it for?
I'm drawing a blank. She did the Reds. I'm drawing a blank. Who was it?
I know. I'm drawing a blank too. Perry Shibley.
Perry Shibley. Thank you. Yeah, she was the Reds in-game PA for a while.
Yeah, I tune that stuff out.
That's all we got on the Reds.
Jimmy, who's your favorite player? I like Ellie De La Cruz. All right, Jimmy. Good. Back to you, John. Come on.
The pitcher.
I love my guy. I love my man.
Bengals. Skinny, one of the things that's coming out, with the mini camp, OTAs, whatever it all is, all the offseason stuff that's been going on, kind of wrapping up here, and you guys talking to the different people inside the locker room and writing stuff up, is hearing about the changes Zach Taylor's made this offseason to try to ramp up the process and get the team better prepared for the start of the season. First of all, let me say, I think this is exactly what they should be doing. The Bengals should be talking about this. They should be instructing people to hype this up and create this narrative, because they're going to get crushed for it. They've been getting crushed for it the last few seasons. You want to say we're doing something about it. You're not ignoring it. So they're doing the right thing by talking about it like this. The question is, what real changes have actually been made? And in your opinion, is there anything that Zach Taylor and the staff can actually do to ramp this thing up right now? Or do you really just have to play better football when the lights come on?
I go back to, there's a lot of mitigating circumstances for 1-11 in the first two games of the Zach Taylor tenure. I mean, just look at everyone, and you can almost tie everyone to Joe Burrow, and or the other one being a long snapper getting hurt in the middle of a game and really having no backup long snapper plan, and it cost you the game against. I mean, that literally cost you that game. As bad as Joe Burrow played that day, coming off the appendectomy, if Clark Harris doesn't get hurt, he makes the snap that gets you to the win in that game. They win the game because of that. So there's been mitigating circumstances. But listen, if Joe Burrow says he wants to play some preseason snaps and you're Zach Taylor, you go, okay. I think that to me is one of the biggest changes, is his willingness to play the starters some in the preseason. Now, I don't know what that's going to look like. Is that going to be a series, and if they go 3 and out, that's it for the day? He actually said he was open to playing starters maybe in multiple games in the preseason. And is that, again, is that 3 series in game 1, 2 series in game 2? And of course, nobody ever plays starters in game 3. So I do think there's that. I mean, what will training camp practices look like? Will they be more physical? He tries to not make them as physical. And his way has worked in the way he's wanted it to work. That's the point I don't think fans get in this. The way he's wanted it to work is he wants his team to be fresh for the length of the season. And that's been the case for the most part. I mean, he's had a pretty healthy team that's done well at the end. But I also think this is some of him going, okay, I hear you. We'll make some cosmetic changes, the change from afternoon practices to morning practices. Trust me, I'm one of those that applauds that personally, because it feels like you get done with the afternoon practice. I end up doing a live TV hit. By the time I get out of there at 6:30, by the time I get home at 7, I'm done writing at 9 o'clock at night. It feels like you're on just a crazy treadmill of doing that stuff. So I like the fact that the morning practices are there. That changes their routine, though. They have to do walkthroughs the night before to get ready for the morning practice, as opposed to doing walkthroughs the morning of, then doing the afternoon practice. And the one I thought that was interesting was the reasoning behind no joint practices with another team. NFL teams do that a lot. And some of it he mentioned, and it does. It's the way the schedule falls. The first preseason game is on August 7th. The second's on August 18th. So there's a pretty big gap in there. And he said, listen, we got a chance to have 6 fully padded practices to work on ourselves. I'm like, okay, I see the reasoning and the logic behind that. Yeah, absolutely. As opposed to what he say of, getting ready for, scrimmaging basically another opponent. I think, okay, he said that's not going to be always the case, and it's probably not. But I think the way the schedule falls. So I think he's done that. I think the biggest part would be, what do we see in actual camp practices themselves? Will we see some more physicality? Will we see a live tackling period or two? I mean, there's only so much you can do. I think fans need to realize that. I mean, there's NFL PA rules that limit the stuff that you can do, but they are certainly not as physical as other teams are in training camp. And, he's usually used the joint practices as that's kind of the physical period that they'll do. So I'm guessing we'll see some more physicality in camp practices.
Yeah, I'm listening to the different podcasts and stuff, and I'm hearing some of the other media types hype up like how different the feel has been. And then they'll talk to the players and they'll ask them about it. It's like, well, what changes have been made? And I hear like we have more team meetings with the full team in there, and there's just a better attitude from the coaches. So like, if I want to read into this a lot, I'm hearing maybe they didn't like some of the coaches that left, especially the offensive linemen. They seem really excited about their new coach. So maybe they weren't real happy with the previous offensive line coach, or we're just pushing a narrative and trying to grab onto anything at this point. Because like, what could you honestly really do this time of the year to change how you start the season? I don't know that there's much you can really do.
And that's the thing. OTAs in the 3-day minicamp, you're even more limited in what you can do from a physicality standpoint, even from just going 11 on 11 standpoint. And so you don't see much of that.
And by the way, if we want to be actually serious about this, then like, okay, what are some of the most important things you need to get ramped up? Well, why don't you get your first round draft pick pass rusher in and start having him work on stuff? If you're actually serious about ramping this thing up and getting them, you're not really doing that, because that guy's still sitting out negotiating contracts. So I'm not really buying into any of that stuff. I think that's exactly what they should be saying. I just would caution Bengals fans about like, they need to play better football. They need not lose the Patriots first game of the season.
Correct. And again, like I said, it's easy to push the narrative when you're 1-11. That is a factual number. They are 1-11 in the first 2 games of Zach Taylor's first 6 years as head coach. But again, go back to every one of those, and you can tie it back to some malady or injury or issue pertaining to one Joe Burrow.
You can, Skinny, but there have been other things. Just from an X and O standpoint, a schematic standpoint, an aggressiveness standpoint. Maybe some of that is because they felt like they didn't have Joe Burrow at his full capacity early in those seasons. But even still, they do need to fix some things early in seasons. They can't. The idea of like, yeah, but we've been fresh the last few years. Yeah, that's great, man. You won games at the end of the season. You have freaking Joe Burrow. You can't do that and miss the playoffs and say we did what we set out to accomplish. That's not enough.
Give them the credit for hearing the noise and trying to do some things that the fans have wanted. The only thing I would caution is if one of those key starters gets hurt because they played in a preseason game, I don't want to hear the criticism behind it. I don't.
I'm with you 100% because people have been railing on this, and I'm not one of them. I do not think the starters need to play preseason games. I don't think it makes a bit of difference. Well, I think the coaches need to coach better the first few weeks.
Yeah, I will say I do think this year, yes, because you're not having the joint practices. I think that's where that's where my starters are going to play. The ones playing ones in those joint practice sessions. So I think he treated those as that. So I do think this year, okay, yeah, that makes some sense to get your starters some snaps. But I'm telling you, for those of you that have been wanting this, lamenting this, harping on this, don't you dare complain if one of these guys gets hurt.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that 100% because it's been almost unanimous across the fan base. It feels like that people want this to happen, that they feel like the starters should play. And be careful what you wish for on that front. It was reported on Sunday that the Bengals and Trey Hendrickson have resumed contract talks, though Adam Schefter followed that report up by saying the Bengals would like a shorter deal, Hendrickson would like a longer deal, and they can't even find common ground on the length of the deal right now. Do you make anything out of this, or is this just the national guys regurgitating the same reports and it makes headlines again?
No, I Trey even mentioned that when he had that impromptu press conference with us on that one Tuesday back in May that, he would like a longer term. He said, I don't want a 1 year because all we're doing is kicking the can down the road. I don't think he's wrong on that. But if they're seeking like a 4-year extension that gets him into his mid-30s, no thank you. I would even say probably no thank you to a 3-year extension. I think a 2-year extension is probably the right length. I think that's a fair length of the Bengals. The Bengals were only offering 1, and I don't think they would be. If they're offering an extension, it's probably at least 2 years. Then yeah, I get his agitation. I wouldn't want to kick the can down the road another year and go through this again next year. If you're going to do it, let's do a 2-year extension and get it done. But again, I think longer than that, I'm sorry, I'm not taking a bunch of money into not. So the extension is he would play this year and then add the extension on. If it's 2 years, it would be 2026, 2027. If it's 3 years, it takes you through 2028. He's 35 in 2028. Do I want to pay a guy a bunch of money in that year? I don't think so. I'm not. I think 2 years is the right number.
I think Max Crosby got 35 a year in his new deal. That is correct. And Myles Garrett got 40 a year in his new deal.
That's correct.
So if the Bengals are trying to do a 1-year deal, which you're saying you don't think they are, but if
I don't think they are.
I've heard other people say that. I mean, do you think then do you think Trey Hendrickson would just take basically the $35 million a year deal for 1 year? Give me the Crosby money.
I don't think the Bengals would be willing to pay that.
I don't think they would either. But I'm wondering if it is coming down to the Bengals want a 1-year deal, is that Trey Hendrickson side of it is?
Yeah, I don't think that's
on the table at all.
Yeah, I don't think that's on the table at all. I don't. I think he wants the because he's brought their name up. I think he realizes the Myles Garrett money is not going to happen. But the money he wants is in that $35 million range, and I just don't think the Bengals are going to get to that point. It feels to me like the happy medium for both sides, and I think this would be the win-win for everybody. I mean, this is a 2-year extension at an average of $32 million. I think that's some pretty good money that's going to be guaranteed, especially in a signing bonus that you're going to prorate and maybe even guarantee the second year of the extension. That's pretty good money guaranteed for a good peace of mind for a defensive end in his 30s.
He's at $16 million a year right now, correct?
Correct.
It's been reported. I don't know how accurate this is, but it's been reported. I've seen that the Bengals have come up to $28 million a year on whatever extension they've been out there.
That number's been out there for a while. I think that's low in my opinion. That's probably the number they gave. And his side is, I think it's been this. I think his side has just not come off that 35 one iota. Now maybe they have, but if they're that staunch to it and the Bengals are down at 28, yeah, listen, the negotiation part of it is, all right, we'll come up a couple extra mil to 30-ish. And then they come down a little bit, and then you kind of meet in the 31-ish area. I mean, it feels like, I kept throwing numbers around on T. Higgins, and it felt like they hit it right in the sweet spot in between kind of where T was at 30 plus, and the Bengals are at in the high 20s, and they came to 28.5 mil and felt like it was a win for both sides.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this 28 feels pretty, again, they have you at 16 this year. Them willing to come up and give you a new deal at 28 feels
well. His argument has been, I don't have to apologize for where the market went, and I understand.
You do, but you signed a contract already, jackass.
Listen, I understand his feeling in that regard. I feel he's as good as Max Crosby. I feel he's as good as Danielle Hunter. His production, his production sure says that.
It is. You're right. Last year it was.
And I'll give you, I think Max Crosby to me, when I watch him play, feels more like a game wrecker.
Those guys scare you more.
Yes, yeah, they do. And I'll give you that part too. I'll give you that part of the argument. But again, the facts part of the argument is the production sways towards Trey's number. And you're right. You don't have to apologize for that. At the same time, I've said this a billion times and I'll say it again. Just because other teams are dumb and set a market price doesn't mean you have to pay the same market price, especially when you do have him under a contract for this year. And if you want to be a jackass about it, the Bengals, you could franchise tag him next year. And you know what? There ain't a damn thing you can do about it, my guy.
Yeah, and the franchise tag would have him somewhere probably like the 30-ish million range.
Yeah,
the top 5.
Yeah, it probably would be that number. I haven't looked at
like
what it
28-ish, I think, probably something like that. Probably right around what the Bengals offered him.
And it probably would go to 30 next year if they tagged him next year. So I mean,
yeah. The thing that drives me crazy is
the leverage of holding out is if he doesn't play by, I believe it's week 10, week 9, his year doesn't toll. So the Bengals still have his rights.
The thing that pisses me off to no end is it's like, dude, you weren't this guy when the Bengals got you. You weren't this guy when they signed you to an extension early. You got the stability of the $16 million up front. Yes, you have to give them a little on the back end because you played really well. That's how the game works. You don't get to renegotiate every stinking year.
Well, and I've had some discussions with some people on Twitter that have private messaged me, and they've been good discussions because I think they're confused why I'm so anti-Trey in this argument, and I'm not anti-Trey. I do think Trey needs to be paid somewhere in the $30 million range. That feels like a fair market price for a guy's age. But my argument back to them has been, you don't pay for past production. Just because a guy outperformed his contract doesn't mean he deserves to get paid for what the future. You're trying to pay for future production. You're trying to figure out, like, what do I think I'm going to get out of this guy, and what is that value? And again, the Raiders are stupid. The Browns are stupid. Doesn't mean you have to be stupid along with them.
Now, I got a deal. Let's do this. Bengals should give him the length of extension he wants at the money he wants. But the second his production doesn't equate to those guys, they're asking for money back. They're renegotiating and we're taking it off the table. Wait, that doesn't work that way.
Well, it does in a way. I mean, I will say this, that point of the argument I agree with you on. But they did it to Geno Stone. They did it to Zach Moss.
They have started asking for money back. You are right. Maybe, okay, let's do that then. I mean, you're not doing it to a contract that big. That's the difference.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, it just drives me crazy with these guys when they act like that.
Or you do this, and I'm going to guess his side isn't going to do it because they're going to want every nickel of guaranteed money they can get. but there's also an ego involved here too, right? You want to be talked about in the vein of I'm a $35 million. Okay, you know what? Put a bunch of base salary in the final year of his contract to jack up the average value, and at that point you can also cut him and get out from underneath that. So let's do that, and that way he can say I signed a 2-year, $70 million extension. And when you look at it, there's a bunch of base salary in the last year that you go, well, if he doesn't produce, we're going to be willing to pay it. If he doesn't produce, see ya.
Right. I like that. That's how you have to get there, I think. And weirdly, it does feel like something's probably going to happen. Like, I feel like they're actually going to work something out now more than ever. I don't know why.
But if they're not willing to budge, I mean, part of negotiation is both sides have to give.
But Trey Hendrickson's son might relent.
Well, that's a good point.
Might relent. His son needs milk money. He's going to be starting preschool soon.
I love him throwing his name into the conversation.
It's so ridiculous. I mean, he's just an idiot. You said it best the first time we ever talked about him a year ago. He's a lunkhead. He just doesn't know any better. If this was from a question we got for Ask Skinny Anything from Jed, but it ties in here. If the Bengals didn't get taken to the cleaners with the Chase and Higgins deals, are they being so difficult with Shamar Stewart?
It's a good question. I think what they're trying to do is what some other teams have done apparently in contracts, is put some language in there to void some future guarantees. Basically, if you become a knucklehead. I mean, I'm going to call it the knucklehead clause.
The Jermaine Burton clause.
The Jermaine Burton clause, yeah. And so I think they decided this was their year to do it. Well, you picked the wrong guy to do it with, and that's where I go back to, why did you have to pick this guy at this time? And I go back to what we talked about last week. You can put it in there in the initial negotiation process, right? And they can go, nah, we're not going to do that. And you go, okay, well, we're not going to try it on this guy at this particular time.
Right.
And so at that point, somebody relents. Or as I mentioned, I think last week all right, we're going to leave this in the contract, but as opposed to giving you some more guaranteed money in years 3 and 4 and guaranteeing that money that we can void if you break the contract language, we'll give you some more signing bonus money. And that way you have more money up front and we can still put this in. So this doesn't feel like it should be hard to negotiate, in my opinion. It just doesn't.
Yeah. Pro Football Focus named Bengals defender Geno Stone the team's make-or-break player for the 2025 season. Last season, he received a grade of 53.1, which followed back-to-back seasons above a 72 grade overall by PFF. Stone ranked 59th out of 66 qualified safeties in PFF grade across last year's season with 1,100 snaps played. Skinny, do you agree with that take? Geno Stone as the make or break player for the Bengals this year?
I think he's up there. I think that's a pretty good analysis. I mean, both of your starting safeties out of all the safeties graded, not just the one where you have the qualifying number of snaps, both of them tied for 136th out of 171 in grade. Somebody has to take a step forward. You would think you'd like both of them to take a step forward. But the problem is, the key is if neither one of them does, and again, Geno Stone is the veteran who has had a good season in the past with Baltimore, which is why he got paid with the Bengals. If let's just say neither one of those guys do, again, the options behind them are nil. You're not going to plug Dejon Anthony in there with 11 defensive snaps in his career, and Tyson Anderson's never played one.
Who was this new dude, PJ Masks or something that they're talking about in the locker room?
Yeah, they got two guys. There's two practice squad guys.
I mean, they're saying he might be an impact. Like the players are quoting him. It's like, guys, please make sure Geno Stone is just good this year, because that's I don't want to be talking about whoever this PJ guy is. No,
it's PJ Jules, I believe.
Yeah, I heard Butch Hobson talking about PJ Jules. What do you know about him? Not much.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah. No, it's literally it's two guys who graded 136 of 171 safeties, followed by two guys who combined for 11 NFL snaps in their career on defense, followed by two guys who've been nothing but practice squad players. There's your safety room at the moment.
Shout out to PJ Jules. CBS Sports picked the biggest do-overs in NFL history for each team. For the Bengals, you want to guess?
When they took Jackson Carman?
No. The last offensive play of the 2022 Super Bowl, where Burrow missed Samaje Perine on an errant throw while being pressured by Aaron Donald. Meanwhile, Jamar Chase was streaking wide open towards the end zone. Do you agree with that one?
Yeah. I mean, again, if he just has an extra tick of a second to look down the field, he not only doesn't have to hit Samaje Perine on the check down for the first down, he hits Jamar Chase for the game-winning touchdown.
Yes, and that was the exact point they made. It was hard to disagree with them on that.
Yeah, I agree. That's a perfect one.
Yep. All right, time for some Ask Skinny Anything, unless you have any other Bengals-related topics.
Nope, all good. Let's do it to it.
All right. We talked about the Athletic putting out their MLB all-quarter century team for each team. We talked about the Reds. We were joking about maybe doing our not all-quarter century team.
Yeah, I gotta do
somebody
that.
sent in, though, that they released the entire one for Major League Baseball, making up from all the different teams, sort of like an all-star team for the last all-quarter century team. One Red made the list. Do you know who it is?
I mean, off the top of my head, it would be Votto, but there's so many good first basemen that I don't think he would make it. One Red.
A guy who played for the Reds.
Yeah. Position player or pitcher?
Pitcher. That should help.
I was going to say, I'd go Johnny Cueto, I guess.
Aroldis Chapman, believe it or not.
Oh, that's a good. I mean, he's still. I watched him pitch yesterday on MLB Network. He's still firing it in there for the Red Sox.
He's kind of had a resurgence a little bit.
He has. Yeah, he has. That's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
How many relief pitchers did they have?
I don't know. I didn't even look. Someone sent me this.
Okay.
And it's like, ask if Skinny knows. So I did.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, I mean, like I said, Votto came to my head, but there's so many qualified first basemen that I would probably put ahead of him.
Yeah. I assume you watched the NBA Finals the other night?
I did.
Game 5?
Yes.
Why didn't the Pacers put TJ McConnell back in?
It's a good question. That's a great question.
I mean, Halliburton was clearly not himself.
He was clearly not himself.
And they went crazy while McConnell was in there playing the point for him.
Yeah, that's a great question.
You want to put Halliburton and take Nembhard out?
Yeah, no, that is a great question. I mean, it's funny. McConnell so doesn't look the part, right? I mean, you would think, okay, he's got to be quick. He's really not all that quick. He's just crafty. He is so damn crafty.
He runs forever.
Yes, correct.
He never stops running. He's not quick, but he can just run.
He is that. No, he is that guy that listen, I've coached against that guy in high school basketball. You're like, he doesn't do anything for me other than he just never gets tired. He just keeps going. He's like the Energizer Bunny. I'm with you. The only thing I can think of is you didn't think of the severity of Halliburton's injury. I mean, all the great stuff he's done, right? And you're like, I'm going to ride my guy. But he clearly looked compromised, right?
Yeah, he was. I mean, his over at halftime was 7.5 points just to get to 7.5. And I was thinking, well, they must think he's not going to play in the second half, or there's a good chance he's not going to play. So I still took it because I'm like, well, if he plays, he might get there just by hitting a 3 and then getting fouled twice or something, So getting him to 8 points is not going to be too hard. But as it turned out, he never got there, and he just was not himself at all. He wasn't aggressive.
I had a six leg in-game parlay that I did before the game started. I hit every leg except for Tyrese Halliburton combined points, rebounds, and assists. I took the over 21.5.
Not great.
Not great.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a great question, and it'll be interesting. We're taping this obviously on a Thursday morning. Game 6 is tonight. How compromised is he, and do they pull a Willis Reed and just bring him out there for emotion's sake and then yank him? And it's going to be fascinating to watch.
Well, as much as they played him the other night, I can't imagine he's going to play less in this one. He's had a few days to recover from it. I think they're going to let him go out there and play. It's game 6, but I don't like their chances given the way he was.
I will say this though, man, that place is going to be rocking like crazy, and they're getting 6 points tonight.
Well, what you do is you wait till they get down by 10 in the first half, and then you take it at like 12 or 13 or something, and
that's a good call.
You feel really good about it. Yeah, OKC leads 3-2.
While we're on the gambling discussion, I didn't see this. I meant to look it up this morning. Our guy who had that multi-championship parlay where he was down to OKC needing to win and Edmonton needing to win. So he lost, right? Right, unless the only thing I can think of is going into the Well, here's the thing. When they were down 3-2, was there a cash out offer still on the table? Or if you're him at that point, do I say, I'm going to scrape together $20,000 and bet it on Florida tonight just so I can win something out of this thing? Yeah, it might have been a hedge play at the end, the way it played out here in both hockey and basketball. And I told you earlier, I think after he got that payout after the game 1s of the series, I think I'd have taken it. I'm sorry. I think you have to, yeah. But, oh well. All right. In honor of Father's Day last weekend, are there any parenting tips that Skinny has passed down to Rick over the last 2 years, or any that he cares to share now? I don't know. What do you need parenting tips on, Rick? I don't know. Sleeping's been an issue, but I did a podcast, a live podcast with Richard Pitino, and a Xavier fan who subscribes to my site was like, hey, I've shared a couple logins over the years, so let me give you one. Here's one to help your kid with this sleep thing we subscribe to.
And so that was very nice. So
very nice.
Feel like we're moving in the right direction on that.
Very nice.
The one thing you did say to me, and I should have listened to you at the time, I kind of laughed at you like, what, you just not clean it out? But you told me the diaper genie was just going to be an absolute wreck and just be disgusting in a couple years. And I was like, why? I mean, it's in a bag, you clean it. But you're absolutely right. There's something about that just being trapped in there and heating up a little bit. And man,
Disgusting.
When that door swings, it's just a different scent.
Yes, it's brutal. It's absolutely
not great.
Trying to think now, as your child grows, what tips I can give you. I would tell you this. My youngest daughter gave me a compliment when we were going through a tough time here a few months ago, and had a personal tragedy in our family. And I said something to her. I said, I'm glad you came up. You really helped a lot. And I said, I wish I'd have done more for you guys. I never felt like I got as close to you guys as I should have gotten. And she said, you know what though, Dad, you were always there when you needed to be there. And I think that is a big key. Like I mean, both of my daughter, my oldest was a golfer, so I was on the course with her a lot. And so we shared that. But she also danced, and I went to a lot of those recitals. My youngest, that's what she's a fine arts major in college. She danced in competition stuff throughout, and I would show up. I wouldn't travel to the one she would travel to. My wife did do that, but all the ones locally I did. And that's one I would always say. I mean, listen, you're never going to be a perfect parent, but I would say part of it is be available. Go there when you need to be at things, and because you're there for them, you're not there for yourself. I mean, listen, literally, dude, going to a 3.5 hour recital where I'm watching probably more other kids dance than my own, because she's in like 8 or 9 dances, but there's 40 different ones from second grade up through high school age, and you're like, oh boy. And it can be exhausting, but at the end of the day, you're there for them, and always remember that.
All right. That's actually good stuff. I always keep in mind your disciplining tips of making him run stairs if he ever gets out of line, or maybe just taking him to a not so nice area just outside of Over the Rhine if he wants to see what life is really like, if he gets a little too unappreciative.
I will promise you, every parent has gone through that where they act like a spoiled brat. And you're not going to do that. I'm sorry. You're just not going to do that to me.
I know you've told those stories before, but always two of my favorites on this podcast for sure. Here's another Father's Day question. Does Skinny have any good stories about best, worst, or funniest Father's Day gifts he got?
No, they're usually, to the kids' credit, they're usually practical. They're usually golf related because it's the middle of golf season. It's something either a new club of this or a place to go play there. Of late, it's been, my Father's Day gift has been a gift card at Disney World, to where the day that we do drinking around the world, it pays for basically that. And that sounds like and it's a pretty good gift. I mean, it's in the 3 digits, so it's in, it's like, I think this year they gave me $150 on the card. But the funny part is, like, the first stop is Mexico, and it was, my wife doesn't drink much, but she'll drink a margarita. So I bought a margarita for her, a margarita for me, and I told my boss, I said, first drink's on me, and I bought a margarita for her. Well, $57 came right off the gift card right off the bat.
I'm surprised it was only that. I thought you were going to say I was 100 down. I had 50 left for the rest of the world.
Well, I trust me. I would tell you this. By the time I got to England, which is my last stop, Canada actually is technically the last stop, but I usually make my last stop England because then I can go straight from there to the Skyliner and get the Hades out of there. The last stop is in England. I did have to pay cash for a couple of beers there. So I had tapped out the card by the time I got to England. Yeah,
I figured that's how that story ended. The one nice thing you had is your older daughter being the golfer. She actually knew like which golf stuff to get you too. It wasn't correct. Like that's grabbing random crap for you.
That's a very good point.
Yeah. Everyone gets nostalgic about snacks or treats they had at their grandparents while growing up. What items come to mind for Skinny?
I remember my grandmother on my mom's side always had the little Cokes. It's not a snack, I know. You remember the little 10-ounce
the little can of Cokes.
No, the little bottles of Coke.
Oh, the bottle. I thought you were talking about the mini. I guess the mini cans are new, yeah.
And she had the full. We didn't have soda pop much in my house until I don't know why, but we did. We had the big screw off jug ones that go flat after a while.
Yeah, and 2 liters.
Yeah. But my grandma on my mom's side would always have different flavored Barks, like 16-ounce glass bottles. And those always felt like, that was like the greatest treat known to mankind. Like, you get the cream soda one time over there, you drink one of the grapes, Then you drink one of the oranges. Like then you drink their root beer. Used to be Barks Root, still is good. Barks Root beer. That was always a treat. Snack food wise, I don't remember doing much snack food stuff with my grandparents. My grandmother on my dad's side was very practical. So if it was like literally I'd have a lunch or dinner, but I don't remember snacks. I will say I do know my mom and dad. This is my youngest child who's a kook. She would go over there, and my mother would have to keep on hand just Kraft American cheese, single American cheese slices, because that's all she ever wanted when she went over to my mom and dad's was a cheese slice.
Not a grilled cheese, but a cheese slice.
Cheese slice.
Yeah. Yeah, most little kids, the grilled cheese is the go-to at the grandparents. So I think the Kraft American singles is a staple. And
they kept clementines, and they liked the clementines.
We had at my dad's parents, we had the little juice things, the Huggies. You remember those?
Oh, yeah. I used to love those. Yeah, absolutely.
He'd load up the fridge with those, so we used to crush those over there. And then at my other grandma's, on my mom's side, what comes to mind is cans of 7-Up and those little peanut butter crackers.
Oh, I hate those. Oh, I hate those peanut butter crackers.
Well, you know what's weird is for some reason she liked the combination of the peanut butter cracker and the 7-Up like together, like not necessarily dipping it, but almost eating it like the same time. Like you start eating drinks up, and it sounds disgusting. Weirdly, kind of good. Like I don't want to do it now, but I did do it as a child, and it kind of had a little nostalgia for me.
I don't know why I don't like them. Maybe it's just the fact that it's the orange cracker with the peanut butter just doesn't look right to me. Because I do honestly, one of my favorite lunches is just to get a thing of saltine crackers and the jar of peanut butter and a glass of milk and go to town with that. But I can't do the cracker. I can't do those orange cheese cracker things.
You can get the non-cheddar ones. You can get just like the normal cracker version.
I can't do that. I don't know why. It's odd, isn't it?
Yeah, that is kind of. But I mean, you're kind of right though. The cheese and peanut butter is a weird combo when you think about it.
Yeah, and I don't like I can't just eat a peanut butter sandwich. I hate peanut butter and jelly. Admitting the fact that I like peanut butter, and then I also like jelly on regular toast. I don't know why.
I love peanut butter, but my kid's allergic to it, so we don't really have it anymore.
Okay, yeah.
Skinny is putting together the menu for a summer barbecue. What are we eating?
Well, if you're going to go real barbecue, you got to go ribs on the grill, or if you can get a smoker, you got to get the smoker. I'm a big summer corn on the cob guy. Okay. I love to grill onions in the summertime, and I'll go grilled asparagus as well.
Okay, not bad. So I don't think anyone's going to roast you for that menu. That's a solid grill out menu right there.
Yeah, I mean, if you just want to do just regular burgers and dogs, I would probably still have the same side items. I might add a potato salad in there, maybe. My mom made a great potato salad. I don't even try to make one. She made such a good one. She would hard boil eggs and then put the hard boiled eggs in it as well. Man, she made a big time potato salad.
That's like a combo of potato salad and egg salad.
Yes, correct.
But the potato salad's very hit or miss though.
It is. It very much is. Like I said, I would probably, if I could limit it to what I'd probably just go corn on the cob, asparagus on the grill, grilled onions, and then you could either do burgers or dogs, or get regular ribs.
All right. As a coach, this is our last one. We'll wrap it up with this. As a coach, what degree of retaliation did Skinny approve of? You're still a coach, so does Skinny approve of when extracurriculars are initiated by the other team?
None. In fact, I had the speech the other day, so we've been playing some summer games this summer, and it came to my attention after one of them that our kids were chirping at the other team. And the referee told me that after the game. I said, well, you could have come said something to me during the game. I would have taken care of it. He goes, well, I tried to take care of it. I said, well, next time come to me and I'll take care of it. So the next day after practice, I said, I'm not going to yell about this. I'm just going to warn you the following. I said, listen, you want to talk back to the other team, you can do whatever you want. I said, but the second you get hit with a technical foul, that's it for the day. That might even be it for the week. And so, again, I'm just going to give you fair warning. Not even going to probably get mad about it. You're going to come out of the game for sure. I said, I just want you to beware. Again, you can talk bad. I used to tell this to my AAU guys, because AAU balls, that's all they do is chirp at each other. I had a couple of guys that were world-class trash talkers on my national championship team, and I warned them too. I'm like, guys, I love you, and you both are pretty good at doing under your breath, and I'm fine with that. I mean, you can do it all you want. Second you get a technical foul and mom and dad are here, you can just go to the car with them and just head on home, and that'll be it for the weekend. I'm just not gonna. Just a good way to talk. I said, listen, I'm just too old school to do. I get people trash talk. I love the stories of Larry Bird trash talking, like telling Rick Pitino when he coached the Knicks, I'm gonna come off of this screen, I'm gonna catch this pass right here on this spot, I'm gonna shoot it in your man's face, and that'll be the ball game. And then going out and doing it. I mean, Michael Jordan, world class trash talker. Reggie Miller in that 30 for 30. I mean, some of that stuff is it's honestly it's hilarious. I don't need it at the high school level and below. I just don't.
When I coached the girls back in the day, I think I told you I used to give them the speech of, I want the other team's parents to hate us. I was the exact opposite. I was like, I love technical foul. I wanted all our girls to just be like absolute punks, because you win games in girls basketball if you're just the tougher team. You don't need to be skilled.
No,
you just have to be the tougher team.
Oh, I'm old school preaching physicality and hey, you come on a drive, you should pay for it. I don't mind that stuff. I just to me the whole trash talking stuff at that age, nah. A, you're not good enough to trash talk probably, so don't.
Yeah, it wasn't much trash talk. It was more the physicality stuff. But I was like, oh yeah, we're all about that.
Oh no, I'm all about that too. I don't mind if the other team hates us for that. That's perfectly fine. I would just say, listen, let the officials officiate. If they're not going to call some of that. That's where I am really on the train this summer of pushing physicality more than I ever have for both our varsity and JV team. And honestly, it goes back to just watching Houston play. They just physically beat you, and they almost challenge the officials. Blow the whistle, I dare you.
Yeah, you're talking about in college basketball, the Houston Cougars.
Yes.
Yeah. Have you ever been involved in extracurriculars during a game you coached?
No, I've broken up a couple. I did have one kid that got that MF'd me in a handshake line, wouldn't shake my hands. That didn't go over well. The coach of the other
team. You and
team
Mick Kernan both
went to the tournament director and said something about me. The tournament director came marching out, and I'm like, okay, this will be good. I mean, I probably shouldn't have gone after, because I went to the kid. I said, why don't you shake my hand like a man? That's literally all I said to him after he MF'd me and wouldn't shake my hand. The coach got all upset about it. It didn't help that we beat them pretty handily. And the tournament director came marching out. I'm like, oh gosh, this is not going to end well for me. No, he turned around to the other coach and said, you guys have been nothing but trouble this whole tournament long. Why don't you just take your team and go?
Nice.
Okay.
How about that?
Yeah.
All right. Good one to end on. That's all we got.
All right. Very good. Appreciate it as always. Thanks for the questions. We'll be back next week with another edition of the Skinny Podcast. For Rick Broering, I'm Richard Skinner. This has been the Skinny Podcast, the weekly potpourri edition presented by Blake, the Attorney Maislin.